The Nazarite vow you will find in Numbers chapter 6, verses 1 through 21. But there are basically three requirements. Number one, you could not drink wine or any strong drink. And just in case you would find yourself in trouble, they went even further to say you couldn't even eat grapes or anything that came from the vine. That was the Nazarite vow. That was number one. Number two, you could not cut your hair. So you had to let your hair grow. And number three, you could not touch anything that was dead. Now here the angel told Samson's mother, your child is going to be a Nazarite from birth on. Now usually people make this vow only for a certain period of time. Most scholars say it's very rare for someone to be a Nazarite all their life, but Samson, his calling was, you will be a Nazarite from the womb throughout your entire life. We come down to chapter 14, and we find out that Samson starts practicing sin. The man of God practicing sin. In chapter 14, he says he wants to marry a Philistine woman. I ain't got time to really go there because that's bad too. But he wanted to marry a Philistine woman. Went to his father and his mother. His mother said, you need to tell me all these women we got around here, and you want to go to the enemy to marry one of their daughters. Samson, oh yeah, I want to marry this woman. When we move down to verse number 5, his parents are on the way to get this Philistine woman. It says, then went Samson down and his father and his mother to Timnath, and came to the vineyards of Timnath, and behold, a young lion roared against him. Verse 6 says, and the Spirit of the Lord came mightily upon him, and he rent him as he would have rent a kid, and he had nothing in his hand. But he told not his father or his mother what he had done. Now, here's where he started to practice sin. He's a Nazarite. You're not supposed to, number one, look at that part where it says, what is he walking through? He came to the vineyard. He's walking through where the grapes are growing. Of all the people for you to, all the places for you to walk, Samson, why you go and walk amongst the stuff you're not supposed to be touching in the first place? But I'm going to leave that alone today. I'm on to him killing the lion with his hand. Maybe you forgot that wine and strong drink come from the grapes. Maybe you forgot. But you killing the lion with your bare hands was downright sin. You broke your vow. And Samson knew what he was doing because he hid from his mother and his father. He didn't tell them what he did because he knew what he did was wrong. When he killed the lion, he looked around to make sure nobody was watching, make sure nobody was there, and then practice sin. Saints of God, we need to be careful of places where we can be anonymous. When we can look around and nobody knows us, because that is the breeding ground for sin. That is precisely the part where the enemy comes in and he just entices us. When nobody knows who you are, nobody can see you, nobody knows what you're doing. A preacher said about 10 years ago, he said something that disturbed me, still disturbs me to this day. He said the reason why hotels love for the Christian conferences to come is because their pay-per-view channels spike during the Christian conference. I mean, I just thought this guy's got to be crazy. But oh, no. You're away from home. Nobody don't know you. You're up in that room. The door is closed and the channel can be clicked. You are anonymous. You got to be careful of the anonymous places. You know, there's certain parts of the city where you can be anonymous. Nobody will know you, and so now you can really act up and nobody won't think it's strange. The way for you to cover yourself is be consistent wherever you go. Wherever you are, be the same thing. So don't act up in Walmart because somebody gonna recognize you. Don't go cussing in 7-Eleven because somebody might see you. Be careful of the anonymous places in your life. Samson was anonymous. Went and killed this lion, but that wasn't enough. The sin got deeper. Let's move down. And he went down and talked with the woman, and she pleased Samson. Well, we're going to talk about her a little bit later. It says, after a time he returned to take her, and he's going back there again, and he turns aside to see the carcass of the lion. He sinned by touching the lion and killing the lion, thus touching something dead. But here he sees the carcass. And behold, there was a swarm of bees and honey in the carcass of the lion. And Nazarite man Samson took his head and went on eating. Meaning he took his head, shoved his head in the carcass of the dead lion and took out honey and started eating it. Sin will have you doing some crazy stuff that if you really think about it, even you would say, I must be going insane. You killed the lion, committed sin, but now you come back and put your hand in the carcass to dig out some honey?
That's right.
Samson has a sin problem. My friends, do not practice sin because it is addictive. A lot of Christians, we think, and I hear it, I've heard it for years, I hear it in conversation, people fear sin because they think while they're in the midst of committing sin that somehow the ceiling is going to fall down, God is going to suddenly roar up a hurricane just around them, and a lightning storm is just going to strike them, and they're going to be struck dead in their sin. Now listen, that does happen. Ananias and Sapphira, they committed sin and they were dead, but if that's rare, you know what happens most of the time? God is quiet. You don't say a word. He just lets you go on. Do your thing. Adam and Eve, God was quiet while Eve was talking to the devil. Even while Eve ate the fruit, God was quiet. Even when Adam ate the fruit, God was quiet. The reason why we have to stay away from practicing sin is because when we get away with it, it gives us a high. And you know what? Just like Samson, you're going to want to come back to the place where you've been committing sin and you're going to do something even crazier. Whereas you had a little bit of restraint because you were a little bit scared, but you knew you was committing sin. But now because you got away with it, you come back now and you're a little less scared because I got away with it the last time. Don't practice sin because it's addictive. Remember I preached at a youth conference at Beulah, and the Lord laid on my heart was, boy, I tell you, powerful about Pringles. And I was talking about premarital rolling around in the hay. Told him, no, don't do it. And I told him I come in with the old regular stuff. I said, I'm coming with some Pringles. And I threw the Pringles thing up on the board. And I told him, you want to know why you don't want to start practicing rolling around the hay before you get married? What is the Pringles slogan? Once you pop, you can't stop. Once you start practicing sin, it starts to taste good. I don't care what anybody preacher, sin feels good sometimes. And because it feels so good, you want to come back and get a little taste of the bee honey.